Kurt, you have anything?
No, we have some stuff to talk about for, I think the adjustments to the consent agenda, but we'll talk about those later.
Okay,
Okay, I move we approve the agenda.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. We do have one community comments. Cindy Barnes?
No comments.
Oh,
Sorry, I thought everybody had the signing.
no. Well, welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for knowing kind words.
Well, that went fast. And then we are not doing a business finance report, correct? We're skipping that.
Yeah, the other thing that I will say, just to put on the table to give a heads up as we go on, we found out that our PERS bond may retire a little earlier than we anticipated, so it may have an impact on this year's budget cycle. And
How much earlier?
well, I'll let Sherry, I'll wait and we'll have Sherry report on that in the next meeting. She got word of it from another colleague who said, hey, we got notified that our bond ends early, even though it says it's at this point. And so, I'll allow her to clarify with that, but I know, there's some concern about that for us and the impact. I mean, I don't want to get too worried until we see how many kids we have. We seem to have some feeling like a positive trend. The impact of the next budget biennium cycle, you know, we got somewhat positive news about at least the formula for roll-up, which the state and finance departments across the state of Oregon for schools have been arguing about. Is it a 3-year look back, or is it, what is the CPI? How does that get calculated? And we finally have a favorable formula, an agreement on that formula for that, so it's helping us. So those initial numbers in initial budget conversations look good, but until we hit budget season after the winter break, we don't know what that will actually be. So I don't wanna hit panic mode to start the year. I just wanna get it out there and make people aware.
Okay.
So. Okay. So there we go. That's my best impression of Sherry for it.
Great. And then I guess we're just rolling right into your reports.
Yep. So the asset update, we continue to move forward with not only the 1.62 acres over on the other side of the elementary school, that process, we're getting to a point where once we get the basic approval for the rezoning, before we submit a development plan, typically what happens is oftentimes, depending on what the board we finally decide to do, and I think this will be a topic of a work session with long-term district asset plan that we talked about. You know, do we want to sell that? Do we want to look at maybe some kind of staff housing or a combination of both? But typically, a development plan with 12 lots would be submitted by someone who's developing that. Probably not us, because we may not be that developer. And so it sounds like we're getting to that point where there might be a pause. And until we have someone who is interested in developing the property, that we would wait for them to submit that development plan to the city. So that's the update on that piece as it moves forward. And again, with these two, we're still in process with the lot line adjustment and moving with the rezone kind of simultaneously, slow process, and I'll keep you updated as we keep moving forward. So I guess I can roll this right into the update on the fire, because that did impact one of our assets. Well, I'll give two updates on bigger property assets. So engaged in conversation with Tollgate. The last round of grants that happened for fire protection, the Firewise, well, not Firewise grants, but the fire grants by the state, they were awarded one, and it's a 2-year cycle. So when this first year gets done, if there's anticipated money that could be left over based on the spending and the budgets of others, they can accept extended projects. So Tollgate, we're meeting next week to talk about extending a fire buffer into TCCA based on that grant and other money that could be available through the grant from the state that hasn't been used by other organizations. Whether that gets us 100 feet, 150 to, well, we don't know what that looks like. and we don't even know if it'll get accepted, but we're gonna work on that to look at how do we continue down that path, with protecting, being a good steward of that space and protecting us from wildfire, moving forward. So that's an update on that. We have also engaged both, both of our science teachers about engaging kids about a fire plan and look at even doing some, if it would do some hand projects, doing some volunteer work, whatever, starting a process in TCCA as well. So we got those things rolling with TCCA. And then, for those that I think the board's aware, but, also, Wildhaven was impacted, I shouldn't say impacted, destroyed by the fire. Finally got some pictures and I will send them. I got them in, late yesterday afternoon and I was out today, so I'll forward those on to you guys. Some forward, the Ian, was able to get out, Ian was able to get out there. Tempted before, too many hazards in the way, was able to get out there and actually get up to the site and take pictures. The Tuesday night into Wednesday, when that land was taken by the fire behavior was severe. He basically reported in spots there were puddles of molten metal that they had melted the metal, in some places. So there was a car, a motorcycle, some other stuff up there. The house itself, the metal roof it's just a pile of rubble. So I'm currently trying to coordinate to get up there because all of our no trespassing signs burnt as well. And because that's in the middle of the national forest and what I believe that property is now a hazard, I'm gonna try to get up there and post some signage as well as some hazard tape. So at least covers us that we can get a crew up there to look at a cleanup. So that's what I'm trying to coordinate right now, with the Forest Service or Deschutes County Sheriff, whoever's able to make that happen. We are engaging our insurance. You know, if you look back to when we got the property in 2021, that house was on the tax rolls for $158,000. That doesn't, that isn't the significance of that home and the character behind it and for the community. But that's what it was on the roll because it was an off the grid house, no plumbing, no electrical, right? So we're still working with the insurance on that process. They're aware of the damage. They're asking for more pictures too, which we haven't been able to get. Now we do have, so we'll be getting those around, and then keep moving forward on that process. So, that's still thankful. 2 structures, unfortunately, one was ours and one was a home next to our property. Those were the 2 structures lost in the fire. You know, again, thankful no one was hurt. People had time to get out, all the positives. And then we'll work at, again, any minus the hazardous cleanup as far as just getting it safe. Then there'll be a conversation with the Conservancy about, is there a restoration plan? Is their plan always just natural regrowth or is there a process? And then it'll be, you know, communication about how do we want to proceed forward. I know I've already been contacted by a few folks about their concern and desire to be involved out there. You know, we had the Friends of Wildhaven as the property got handed over. So I'm sure there'll be some community interest as we look at a plan as that moves forward. So actually that's a lot for right there. Any questions on those pieces up to date?
The only question about so I'm glad you're Tollgate is having that conversation and thinking about that, and that's one of my main concerns in the area for our exposure and liability.
Yeah.
But it sounds like they may be willing partners. I know last year at one juncture we also pursued going after a grant to adjust.
Same grant they got.
Yeah,
they were 10s, we were 20s.
Right. Do you know if that same mechanism is available for reapplication, and are we planning to go for it again if possible?
When it comes back up, my understanding is it's a 2-year. I don't think they offer them every year. I think it's every other year, and we will apply. Also, and I think, yes, we will reapply. And I think we also have to take the opportunity if there's if there's an opportunity to do some work now, especially if we can hear, clear or protect, do some work 150 feet from their border,
Yeah.
then that's less we have to do in the future. And then if you do that, and then we have our field space on the other side of it, there's a pretty good protection zone for what hasn't been treated. So we are in a much better place if we can get that done.
Okay.
So, yes. Um. We are in the middle of updating our website. One of the things we were looking at, one was the usability of what we currently have. And our vendor has been great. I think we were in the understanding that it would be easy for us to change things instantaneously, and there are parts that we can't, that we thought we could. And so we find ourselves sending messages, sitting on things for a week or two before they finally get updated. So we are looking at through our school data program.
Communication.
Yeah, our communication tool, they have a website platform, and it's 100% easy for us to control, work. So all that updated data that we put in, we're updating things again, because some actually we found some old stuff cut in there. So Amy and a bunch of our staff, but mainly Amy, have been updating those pages, and we're looking at a rollover in the fall to the new site. Connected to that, it'll also be a budgetary cost savings for us, which is not a bad thing either. So that's just a heads up that you will see a rollover happen at some point. Been reviewing pages, they're doing a fantastic job of capturing where we are, updating messaging, and I'm excited about that when we roll over. So, but that'll be coming soon, so be on the lookout. I handed out to everyone copies of my goals from last year. Didn't make any changes. I didn't bring my summary, and I did that because next month Joe is presenting the integrated grant to the board. We have to by the law and statute. And typically, my goals are based off the integrated grant, so I didn't want to jump ahead and say, let's make my goals before we present the integrated grant document. But what you have in front of you, minus that last goal on the facilities and what we're doing, really was out of the integrated grant goals, right? Connected to our mission, vision, and the integrated grant goals. So I guess what I was looking for potentially is, were we happy with the goals that we looked at in the past, minus the fourth one? I could draft something, get it out to the board for feedback. You guys could send me information on feedback, so we could, spur the conversation and not have to do a bunch of back and forth moving into it. So, just for you to look through thing fours, I'll be communicating with you on those thoughts. We'll have a bigger discussion after the presentation of the integrated grant.
Okay.
Any questions on that? All right. Other updates. Well, Jacob, I thought he was actually going to sit here and let me introduce him, but he introduced himself. I said, no, he will introduce you and then you could go. So he introduced himself.
And then he went.
So our new director of operations is on board. And we're excited about the perspective he brings. He is systems connected like Ryan was, but also comes from a retail front. So he's very much about customer service and what that looks like. So we're excited about that perspective coming into the district and what that could bring us. So we stole him from the River House, is where he was previously working. So we're excited about that. And well, you met Jacob, so that's the end of my.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Kurt? Great, then we evaluate committee assignments.
Yeah, I'll jump in and I would say Sarah, jump in where you want, because I'm gonna summarize.
Yeah.
So after last meeting, Sarah called me pretty immediately because I think late or remember when we put in there, but, her daughter-in-law was hired as a teacher and she's on the bargaining committee. Now, the law is that when a group represents a class, there's not a conflict. When it's an individual, then it is. So she called me immediately, felt like she shouldn't have voted on the consent agenda, which actually I was sitting next to her, can't remember if she voted aye or not. I don't know that she did, but it was recorded as a 5-0. She should have abstained from that vote because Emma was on the list to be hired. So as we work through two conversations, one, she's perfectly able and capable to be on the bargaining committee, but thought we'd make sure that everyone's aware of that situation. I communicated, and if anybody else wants, because we can have up to two. So if anybody else wants to be a part of it, that's fine. And then also to adjust and correct the minutes that Sarah will abstain from that vote on the hire in the consent agenda. So really, that's the two conversations that, and Sarah, did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
Does this require any action?
The only action it requires is the update of the consent agenda because it would show a 5-0 vote.
Okay.
Which would not be.
So it'll show 4-0 and
One abstaining.
okay,
And then, and again, just to lay that out, anything that is like bargaining and impacts the entire class, there's not a conflict. If there were anything that came specifically about her, then Sarah would have to abstain, right? So if we had to go into executive session, something about her, then she would have to abstain.
got it.
So just to be clear on what that is. And so the question is, just as we're wrapping up, if anyone else wants to be a part of the bargaining group, again, we can have to. Sarah's perfectly comfortable. Joe and I and Melinda, quite honestly, kind of run it anyway. So for those that have been in it, so that's the conversation, and then we'll get to the adjusting the vote when we get the minutes.
Okay,
Any
questions?
does anyone have an interest in joining the, it's not required, so.
It's one of the least exciting.
Well, that was nice. So Jeff would like to do that. I'm writing that down.
If you needed somebody to fill a chair, I would do that, but other than that.
You're okay not
Thanks
doing
very
it.
much.
So
Thank you
basically,
for the offer.
thanks for taking the ball, I guess is what he's saying.
All right, so then that's all we had for really the board discussion. It was that, then that solidifies the committee work that we had put in place. I would add, just as we keep moving forward, I know that Eric has the AQI group and that the Oregon Health Authority has reduced the AQI and the OSAA has followed. So now if something's 101 to 150, there's either move inside, outside competitions. It's still a little vague about the mandate to, I think they say reschedule is what they say, or move to an alternative location before they say cancel and reschedule. So we'll have to navigate that one as it continues to go. People look for competitive advantage for the AQI. That was part of the challenge in the first place, minus the health issues, but it would be somebody would have a portable AQI and say, oh, it's unhealthy. And the other person like, what are you talking about? It's 98. We're fine. Right. And so that happens quite frequently, unfortunately. So we'll work through that process and keep working through the other one as well. But that's on there. And as we keep moving, the other thing that I'm forgetting the House bill. However, don't be surprised if in September,
I don't remember the name of that.
yeah, but so bill passed, we're supposed to have a policy in place by September. And so they haven't sent us a sample policy yet.
What is it
So,
about? How's that?
Sure.
yeah.
Playing
So this is,
for sports.
oh, okay.
Okay.
Is this an Oregon House bill?
Yes. So So it's also, well, there's that one, and there's also the ICE policy. So there's two. So, and I know the ICE policy for sure is by September.
Oh,
I have to check on the other one. So be ready for the September meeting. We typically do a first reading as a courtesy and then do a second. We can approve a new, I want to say bill, a new policy in that reading, and in September, we're going to have to.
Yeah.
Because it's required that we have it in place.
Right.
So,
the incentives.
yeah, they haven't sent us the SBA hasn't sent us the model yet. Based on the language out of the legislation, but it has to be on the books by September 30th, and we won't have a board meeting before that. So the September meeting, we'll have a policy that will need to be approved on the document. So,
Oh, I guess one other superintendent report that I would like to hear about, the governor's executive order for time. Has there been any concrete discussion about what the implementation of that plan is? Okay.
no rules, other than, I will just give you anecdotally the fun that we've had. This is my frustration with the facility. So we send in our stuff, our worksheets, we feel we're in compliance. They went back and checked the time we said we should have, and I guess we maybe had a couple of late starts in 24, 25. And so that versus our actual time was different. So then they told us we had to have a plan. We said, well, we don't think we do, because we have a plan, which is that. They're like, no, even if you had inclement weather, you need to let us know how you're gonna meet it, even if you have inclement weather. And so I responded with a plan that I downloaded onto the document. And now they told me that I'm not in compliance because I was supposed to do a worksheet that calculated hours at every level for the next 2 years. So I'm working through the state. What I have resisted doing is saying, hey, we're 10 to 14 points above everybody in the data that you're collecting. Maybe we're doing okay with the time that we have. But I've resisted that. And I'm just gonna figure out what they need me to do. And, or maybe Joe said, let them know, find out what they need, and I'll do it if it makes you mad. But these are the things that
Yeah,
first.
don't bring up PE minutes.
No, I know, 3 minutes, I've learned from that, I'm not gonna die in that. I'm gonna put energy, I'm not gonna waste 20 hours of my time, I'm gonna put energy where energy should put. And honestly, on this one, we'll figure it out. What we sent to them is that we are gonna look at our daily schedule to see if there's an opportunity to and we have to have this in place by 27, 28. So we got a year. And so I said, we're gonna look at the daily schedule to see if there's minutes. Now, there's a whole nother dialogue that's going on with them about seat time and how they calculate it, and whether they're gonna include first bell to end bell minus lunch. That's a whole different calculation. Right now, we take out every passing period, we take out everything that's not instruction. And so there could be some changes coming to that. So we said we're gonna evaluate the daily schedule, and then also evaluate work days and the potential of switching some work days to student contact days if we feel we need that to have a buffer for inclement weather. So, and what will really impact that is whether the state gets rid of the 30 hours for conferences and the 30 hours for professional development.
Right.
That count. That happens, then we'll probably have to engage both those mechanisms to make sure we're getting what we need to get. So calendar committee. can be
Yeah,
fun.
good luck.
Whoever's on that.
That's these two.
Thank you. Good question, good update. We haven't seen the formal rules.
Yeah,
yet, though.
that's what's right. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, so we have a short executive session.
Yep.
So at this point,
Just the language.
See that?
I'm sorry, you want to give me the speech?
This is an executive session and the board can meet privately and. Well,
I did.
Oh, thanks.
so, nothing we don't like it.
Okay. The sister school board will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.6602J, which allows the board to meet in executive session to carry on negotiations under ORS Chapter 293 with private persons or businesses regarding proposed acquisitions, exchanges, or liquidations of public investments. And I guess this part too. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decisions may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room.
Right. See ya.
Thank you.